So, when you consider the role of an admissions advisor or a career advisor, a lot of people think that they just get the opportunity to talk to tons of students, everything, every day, inspire them to get started in their careers, and then everyone starts school, they graduate, and everything is all peachy. Okay. So that's not exactly true. When you think of the role as a whole, yes, it is definitely a life changing experience because you get to take a student from not knowing what their next step was going to be and fast forward and see them walk across the stage on graduation day or however else you guys celebrate your students. But there's a lot that goes on in the background, and I think it's very important for people to understand the actual role before you take the step to say, you know what, yes, this is what I'm going to make of my career. I am applying right now. So first off, in the previous video, I spoke about sales. Okay, what a lot of people fail to tell advisors during the interview, it is a sales position. So when it comes to sales, I'm going to paint a quick picture for you of what an advisor's day could look like. So, number one, sales, meaning you have to reach out to a certain amount of people every single day in order to one, talk to somebody and then inspire them to take the next step. If in fact your program is the best fit for your potential student. So, that may look like 200 plus dials per day per advisor. Okay, here's what's happening during those calls. You may have some hangups. You may have a lot of wrong numbers. Some of those numbers may be disconnected. A lot of voicemails. This is where that fatigue starts to sink in with a lot of advisors because they're like, oh my gosh, voicemail after voicemail. Is anyone ever going to pick up, right? You may find some students who are already enrolled in another school. They're looking for free programs. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people still looking for free programs because they do not believe that they should have to pay for their education. A lot of advisors, they face a lot of rude people, believe it or not. In my 18 years of being in this industry, I have witnessed advisors getting cursed out on the phone. Remember, a lot of our students, they're going through a lot and they're not always aware of how they're treating people when they're receiving a call back for information that you actually requested. So, it's a lot of emotional stamina, to be a career advisor. And sometimes you have to suck a lot of stuff up. Okay. Within the 200 calls, those are all the different types of scenarios that advisors could face. Now, let's say, for instance, they get someone actually on the line and they're like, thank the Lord, the gates have opened up. Yes, I find somebody. Now they're getting to the point where they're about to set the appointment. Boom, call drops. The call drops and the advisor is like, oh my gosh, you have got to be kidding me. This is my 100th call. I finally got somebody to answer the phone. They're about to set the appointment for today. And the call just disconnected. And they're trying to call the person back. And guess what? They're not getting an answer. How about if you have someone who is in an online school? Because with online schools, you're not necessarily setting appointments to come into the campus. A lot of those interviews happen the exact same time that they're talking to students on the phone. So if a student has the time, that interview takes place the same time on the phone where they're talking about, building value for the school, the different programs and everything. So a phone call could be about 45 minutes for an online school. Now it's getting down to the point where the student is about to enroll. So the advisor is like, yes, I was able to help someone today. They're saying, all right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you the application. Hello? Call is gone after 45 minutes. And you know what? In both scenarios, you know what the advisor has to do, despite the fact that some of those numbers are now disconnected? They have to keep going. You still have to pick up the phone and make the next call. So imagine the tough skin that is needed in this game of admissions, right? So then you may be interviewing people. So now you have students who actually came in for interviews and you're super excited. They reach financial aid. Student is in default, or they're dependent students. So the parents may not exactly be on board. You may be dealing with students who have no status, they have no GED. And when it comes to the requirements of your school, the minimum that they need to actually enter the program is a high school diploma or a GED, and they don't have that. All of these factors come into play when you're talking about this role, and you have to keep going. You know why? Because you still have an expectation that you have to meet for every single class start. And some of those class starts could be every 5, 6, or 7 weeks. So imagine having to build a cohort every 5 weeks is like mind blowing. How am I actually supposed to do this? All right. But it's possible. All right. And here are the steps. Number one, do your advisors understand their conversions and their run rates? I've spoken to so many advisors who really feel that the game is about making as many calls as possible, praying that somebody picks up, and then somebody picks up, praying that they stick if they enroll. Okay, that's called insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Okay, we don't want to do that. So you have to make sure that your advisors know what their run rates are. How many appointments do they need to set? How many people need to show? How many people need to enroll? So they have to know those run rates. The second thing is, what messages are your advisors leaving for these students? You have to keep in mind that our students, they're habitual shoppers, right? So that means that they're talking to 15, 20 schools almost every single day. All these schools are responding at the same time. And if your advisor's messages do not stand out, guess what? The student is going to go delete, 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 because they're hearing the same type of messages from every single person. So now you have to take a step back and say, hold on for a second. Let me reevaluate what's going on within my team, right? What kind of messages are they sending to students? How many times they're reaching out to these students? Are they saying, 3 times and I think I'm harassing them? Or are they saying, maybe I'm calling too many times? Are you utilizing text messages and voicemails? Now, a lot of people do not answer voicemails, but there's still a small percentage of people who still will actually sit there and listen to a voicemail. So you can't, eliminate voicemail altogether, because every opportunity that you don't take is a loss, right? So you have to be able to look at your team and say, okay, what kind of messages are you guys sending? All right, switch it up. You have to get to the point where you're meeting your students where they are on their level. Okay, follow up and stitch. Okay, that's a totally different video altogether. And I actually did a live event where I broke down the stitch and the follow-up process. So really quick, when it comes to the follow-up process, that's before the student made a decision to enroll. So this is when you're talking to a lead who has not converted yet. That follow-up process is from the time you receive the lead up until the enrollment. The stitch process is from the enrollment to the first day of class. So that's the follow-up activity that you have when the student actually enrolls for class. And now you're making sure that everything is okay, mentally, emotionally, they're getting all their documents in for school. So they're two different things. Do you have a process? Do your advisors understand the type of messages that they're going to send during the follow-up and the stitch process? Okay. And all in all, when we're talking about all of these things, you know what it comes down to? Training. Are you investing in your admissions team? This is so important because too many people feel that because they may have people on their team who are seasoned, they've been in the industry for a long time, they're like, they should know this. I don't need to invest in their training, right? However, the industry has changed. And when it comes to higher education, it feels as if something changes every 24 hours. Let's get real. Right. And now we're talking about the Gen Z generation. They're a little different. Okay. Studies have shown that they are the most educated generation yet, because what do they have access to that a lot of us did not have access to decades ago? The internet, technology, information, right? So they're already coming in your school like, I already know, just tell me what I need to know. All right. So you have to make sure that you're prepared for them. But then when it comes to new people, some people may feel, well, I already trained them for a week. So what's the problem? They should already grasp this. That's not the case when it comes to communicating with people. People change. Okay. People are difficult. People can be challenging. However, you have to make sure that you get to the point where your advisors understand that it's all about the connection. Okay. So keep these things in mind, especially if you're trying to become an admissions advisor. If you're really thinking about, starting your career as an advisor, let me tell you, it is a very rewarding career, but it takes a lot of stamina. It takes a lot of time management. Okay. And you have to be very meticulous when it comes to following up with your students and putting different processes in place to make sure that leads do not fall down the drain. Okay, if you find this content helpful, there's a lot of schools out there, and I know that this can help a lot of people. If you know people that this video can help, please make sure that you forward it to them, because we are supposed to work together, right? So you don't want to see your partner school fail either, right? Pass the information on, like, and make sure that you subscribe. Okay, because I'm going to be coming out with more tips on how you can actually grow your team, motivate your team, and some training tips so that you can connect on another level with your potential students. I will see you guys next time.